Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to be having such a good time painting. This is a real-time painting class, completely explained, step by step. We are live streaming. The video is about an hour. Every step, every process, every color mix, it is going to be available to you and evident to you. We're going to explain everything. If you've never painted before and you're looking for a video to make your first painting video, I'd like to invite you in and to give this a try. I want to say hi to everybody who's come to our live stream to paint along during the show, or just to even get some socializing during the show. All of that's completely good. I also want to shout out all the people who, for whatever reason, can't be in the live chat, like Trey Cullen in Northern Ireland. If you're with us right now and you're during the live, but for whatever reason there's a technological challenge and you're not in the chat, we do feel your energy. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He is working out our really cool new video setup and making sure that we have all the stuff. Do we have the materials list all queued up?
We do.
Excellent. So we're going to be showing you everything that you need to know. He's going to be helping me with that. If you have questions, be sure and put them in all caps. We won't think that you're yelling at us. Moderators are the people with wrenches. They'll help you find links or information. I have 1,000 videos. That's right, 1,000 free step-by-step art videos. You got to be able to learn to paint with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, tonight is an easy villa.
Yeah.
Friday night, we do the easy, don't we?
We do.
We do the fun. We bring the fun on Friday. Right? So the paintings are a little bit easier. The materials are a little bit easier. There's just kind of, it's like more beginner friendly, but still beautiful. Still something you want to put on the wall. Then we pick it up Saturday. Coming in for kind of the fun show. So kind of have that in your mindset when we're coming in. We are not a serious art class. We teach great art. We teach real art. We just don't teach it in a manner that makes anybody feel unwelcome. I'm ready to hop on into this. Let's look at the materials.
Okay. Let's see here. I got to get the button.
Let's see. This is a John thing. Woo! I have to move out of the way. Raphael texture. All right. So these are, I'm using Sennelier abstract colors. It's a French company, very historic, but real traditional colors. I've got Cad red medium, Cad yellow medium. I got phthalo green, phthalo blue, quid magenta, titanium white. We're on an 8x canvas, but you can paint this any size you want. If you check out my website, there's a free traceable. If you check the description, these materials are listed out there as well. There's even some extra info. The brushes today are Ruby Satin, number 26 Bright, a Princeton, number 12 Round Blender, a Raphael Textura, number 16 Bright. By the way, sizes on brushes are just a mishmash of crazy. They just make up sizes in the art world. A number 4 Art Sherpa Round, that's my official brand. And then 2 extra fun tools that might help make it easier. This is a T-square. It is an edge tool that helps you draw straight lines. It can be friendly. And this is a Dritz chalk tool. It's used in sewing. You can find it in places like Joann's. It should not be expensive. You've got to watch those Amazon prices. So that's the basic materials we're going to be using today. I think that you can find exchanges. Listen, here's the thing with this. If you're painting along, you don't have these exact materials, what will happen? Nothing bad will happen. Your painting won't explode. You'll be fine. Everything will be okay.
It will all work out.
It will all work out. Your green may be just a slightly different green than mine. Your painting won't be any less wonderful or important or great. These are just honest, like me just telling you this is how I did this. So if you need to know, you know. All right, let's start painting.
All right.
I'm kind of into it. Easy villa. Easy seaside villa. Step 1. You can handle step 1. Step 1 is really fun. So here we have our setup. You've got your reference picture. I have my 8x8 on a Lazy Susan. I'm going to be putting out my paint. I'm putting out my Cad yellow right now. You can see it's just a nice bright yellow. So if you have different paint, look for your brightest yellow. I am putting out some phthalo green there. I can tell, even though it looks black on the screen, that's phthalo green. Some colors look very dark to the eye initially. That should be the quid magenta. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the Cad red medium. Now, the nice thing about student paints is they're much less expensive than professional paints. They're not quite as vibrant. But look, this painting was done with these and it's still wonderful. And that's the point. you can put out your paints and be okay. That's burnt sienna. I see Mars black and titanium white. So it's really good to have a nice white. I really like my Lazy Susan quite a lot. And that's my phthalo blue. Putting out my phthalo. Now, my phthalo blue, here's me saying, these are the colors. Cad yellow, phthalo green, burnt sienna, Mars black, titanium white. You can kind of see those come out. This is my number 26 Bright. Bright is just a type of brush. It's a square brush, and the filaments are a little shorter out. I'm dipping in water, dragging off the extra, so my brush is not sopping wet. I'm loading up with a little bit of white and a little bit of blue. Notice that I'm going to be pulling out. This is from the edge of the paint plop. If you're really new to painting, that's important to do. Otherwise, your paint will get all messy on you. And I'm just going to paint the whole canvas sky blue. Now, normally we do wishes on the canvas, but when we started doing this format, I totally forgot to do that. But I'm getting better at it now. There are wishes on the canvas. So my wish for today's painting is that everybody is safe and healthy and okay in their lives, and they're doing all right. I know so many of you have worries, so that's my wish for today's painting. It's magically in the ether. Notice that I'm just painting it a smooth, even blue, and then I'm going to dry it. And the reason that I do that is so that, one, my paint's going to stick a lot better to the canvas, because acrylic likes to stick to acrylic. And two, if there's some openings or some dry brushing going on, that blue will show through, and it's going to make the painting look better. Boom, step two. Feel like American Idol. Step two is probably going to be me chalking stuff out. Now, that's why it's really important to make sure your canvas is both dry and cool and completely cured. Whenever you're using chalk or watercolor pencil or chalk pencil to sketch anything in, you don't want to press too hard, and you don't want your paint to be uncured, wet, or warm, because it will leave a mark that doesn't come out. But if it's completely dry, what that's going to do is make a chalk line you can easily erase with a wet brush. Now, this is the fence that I am putting in there. I am also going to give myself a pillar. I'm really working my T-square to make sure that, you know, even if you train in art school, straight lines are always better if you use a tool. They just are. It's not cheating to use tools. They give them to architects for a reason. You want your architect to use a T-square or your house will be crooked. True in your painting, true in your house. T-squares are important when you're doing architecture. So if you want to check out the website, the traceable's there, and you can also use that to help you figure out where to put your lines. This is really just about making sure that you have space and effort is easy for you, right? Like you don't want to be stressed out. This is painting. This should be fun. Making arches, probably the hardest part of the painting right now. You want them to be kind of the same height, right? You want them to be sort of the same height of arches. This is your architecture. You're making your villa where you live on the seaside. Oh, Liz Carson says, hi, Sherpa. Hi, Liz. How are you doing today? Let me catch up to the chat, and moderators are totally leaving links, so I love that about my mods. I'm putting in my window. I think on a villa, I think actually whenever you paint a vacation spot, it's super important to paint a place you want to stay, because whenever you look at the painting, it's as if you are projecting yourself into that painting. And I consider them windows in my home. These are windows into your world, and you want windows that you look out of your home into that give you a better view. Sometimes we can't afford the seaside Mediterranean view, but we can certainly paint it and hang it on the wall and enjoy it just as much. So I'm now going to start sketching in little elements. You can see me kind of thinking about, like, do I want to put a little shaded perspective? That will be for the shadow that you see underneath the arch, just reminding myself that I'm going to see some more. And I'm sort of thinking about where I might want to put my pillars. I'm looking at that now. John's going to zoom in so you can see it. These lines are light, right? And you want them to be able to remove. They're just there to help you. If you use the traceable, there's a video called How to Trace on a Canvas by the Art Sherpa. It's 10 minutes. You watch that and it'll show you how to use that if you've never used it before. That is not an unreasonable thing. And you can kind of see there where my objects are. That's the other reason I like to use the ruler, because you can pause the video and notice the measurements. If you're using millimeters, it's got that. If you're using inches, it's got that. So you can use the measurement that you're most familiar with, because these YouTube videos are global. And so, and I think everyone else is on the metric. Pretty sure. This, however, is the very important line. This line right here.
Everyone else is on the metric. I'm like, what metric? Or metric, like rulers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't it?
Wow.
Right? What?
Patty.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to blow some bubbles for Patty. I'm putting in my horizon line. This horizon line is dedicated. Pause for a second.
I'm going to pause here.
This horizon line is dedicated to Patty. So when you're sketching in your horizon line, whether you put it up high, whether you put it low, the important thing when you're doing water is to make sure that it's level, right? That's going to be your biggest task when you're painting. I'm going to blow these bubbles for Patty. That was incredibly generous. Thank you. Oh, I so appreciate that.
Thank
and Ann
you
Keel,
so
who is the sweetest, is asking everyone to thumb up. Let me see if I catch any questions. I'm not seeing any caps, but I do appreciate that. Lindsay Herbert, I miss painting perspectives. Where will I find them? Well, what you're looking for is, if you're looking to practice your perspective, there are a lot of resources out there online that are free, and we have a whole big art quest that's for perspective that teaches you all about perspective. There is my Kraken. That is Patty's Kraken. Leslie Jones, Cinnamon, when are you going to do another swan painting? Well, I will probably do another swan painting, because I often paint similar things again and again. If you check the upcoming live tab, you're going to see we're scheduled out, I don't know, very far. I schedule out till YouTube takes my ability to schedule out, because I like you guys to know what we're going to be doing and how we're going to do it. So everything is dry at this point, and I have to agree with Linda Sue. Patty is the bomb diggity. Oh, and I'm wishing healing for Mary Youngblood's aunt. I think we caught some healing wishes for her on the last canvas, so I'm hoping she's doing okay, and those go out into the world. I'm taking a little white and a little bit of my Quinn, just the tiniest amounts. I'm like tinting this like this is a eggshell kind of paint going to go on the wall. I'm going to make a very light color with this. I am using the number 16 Textura. This is just a brush that is really great for heavy body paint. There are a lot of brushes out there that are like that. What you want is a very firm filament with your brush. I am going to loosely sketch in the first layer of the stucco walls. So in acrylic painting, a lot of times it's about building up layers, and the way the colors lay over each other, creating a visual effect of text. Like, obviously we don't have a stucco wall. That's not what we have, but we make the feeling of the stucco wall. So you never want to just paint it raw white. You want to build up to those bright values, and using little toning mechanisms like a little bit of the Quin Magenta and a little tiny bit of the Phthalo Blue, and treat them like spice. See how I'm like being, oh, just a little. Also, using the edge of my brush when I am stroking up to get nice sharp edges, and then going on the wide part of the brush when I want to fill in big areas. And you'll also notice that I'm loading the brush to the edges to the toe. It's not creeping up my ferrule. That's an easy thing that can happen. Notice that I'm making a darker purple. I'm using the Quin Magenta and the Phthalo Blue. I'm making a darker purple because this part of the wall will be a little more in shadow. So I'm just making sure that that is represented well, and we can see those values early on. I'm making nice vertical long strokes, and I'm using the edge of the brush to keep those edges sharp. And there I go. Blend, 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 blend. Acrylic paint blends best when the paint is still wet. So if you're trying to get it to do soft blending, you need the paint to still be wet. Stroking upwards again, a little more magenta, just informing that information, making sure that there's a shadow kind of being laid in there that I can think about later. Kelly Weld says, it's funny because CDNs use inches even though we are metric kind of. I'm going to look up metric kind of to see exactly how metric that is, because I think I could do metric kind of. I think I could. I just don't think I could do full metric. But that's a failing in me, not the metric system. I'm not at all implying the rest of the world isn't correct. I'm taking blue and a little bit of magenta, and I'm starting to put in that shadow. So see, we're mixing where there was a magenta, and then where I want to soften it or lighten it, I come back with a lighter color, putting a shadow kind of on the inside of the pillar, just to say, hey, man, there's a little shade here. It's not shady. It's not throwing shade, but you got to be able to paint a little shade. So that's our joke around here. Instead of be shady, practice your shading. Nancy Dearman says, how do I donate money? Well, first of all, I really appreciate that. There's a feature on YouTube that is Super Chat, and it gives you a little dollar sign, and you can do that there. Also, we have a patronage on our website, not on Patreon, and it is awesome. So that's another great way to do it. Mods can get you links for any of those things. I'm catching up. Happy birthday to Little Brush Katie. Happy birthday, Little Brush Katie. Notice that we're painting in a much deeper color. Now, it's blue, but there's just enough magenta in that blue to make it a little bit of a purple cast. Are you seeing that, John?
Mm-hmm.
Back into that shadow. Paint the shadow. And then there's me going, I'm going to define some of the shadow. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm using kind of a rustic brush stroke. And I'm doing that because stucco is kind of a rough material. It's a rough texture. And when we're painting, we're doing a thing called implied texture. So we use like the direction of the brush stroke, how dry it is, how rough the edges are to imply that something is smooth, soft, or rough. So right now I am playing with those two things and making sure that things are painted in well and look okay. I'm going to come in and add some floor. Tough to stand there if you have no floor.
Mm-hmm.
Very tough. Tough to stand there if you have no floor. Malik says, I have a request. I want to try a palette knife painting. What paints are good and affordable? I really think the abstract acrylic is very good and affordable. But here's the important thing. Sometimes affordable paints flatten. So they look all great when they're wet, and then as they dry, they flatten out and they don't look like when it was when you painted it. So palette knife painting, you want the paint to hold its body. That's why this paint is called heavy body. So I definitely think the abstract acrylic is amazing because it's economical and it doesn't do the shrinkage that some of the other less expensive paints do. So I like it for that. M Graham as well, pretty darn good for that. You know, so there's some good products out there. I am coming in and adding a little more blue, kind of defining that edge and saying, you little crease here need to have a deeper shadow. Sippy, sippy, my water cup.
Sippy.
Because that's so chatty. Look at this. I'm still chatty. Step 4. If you came by for a very silent piano video, you are sorely disappointed.
Not this place.
Look at that. Me telling you. This is the 16 Raphael Precision. Oh, it's a Precision. I said Textura. But it's Precision.
Yeah, Sandy's got a good question. How do you keep your paint wet long enough to do all this?
So I have a mister bottle. It has only water in it, and it does a micro mist. And periodically, if I notice that my paint needs a little moisture, I do that. Another trick that you can do is add a humidifier right next to your palette. And you can also use another product called a Stay Wet palette. So I took my phthalo blue and my phthalo green, and I'm making a turquoise color, add a little bit of white to it. And I'm just painting in the water that is showing through the arch of the villa. Notice how smooth and horizontal my brush strokes are. So this is very important when you're painting water, especially if it's a smooth day, there's not a lot of waves, there's not a lot of chop. You want to do as horizontal and level of a line as you can. And then I like to also try to make it look like they match up. You can see me turning the Lazy Susan to get a better angle on that. I really do like this. I use double stick dots to keep the canvas from sliding all over the place. That is my insider tip. You show up at the lab, you hear about the dots.
The dots that make the difference.
I see Teresa Niche says, Art Sherpa, hey. How are you doing? Kelly Weld asks, why do great acrylic brushes not work with oil? Because oil is very different. Here, pause 2 seconds.
Okay.
Because I want to explain what I'm doing with white, but I also want to answer this very important question. Now, some acrylic brushes do work great with oil. But oil is a very different medium. It stays wet. It has a long blendability. You don't really want to necessarily see a lot of brush stroke in oil. Only in some techniques and styles do you. Acrylic tends to prefer a synthetic filament, and oil really likes a natural hog hair. Hog hair can hold a lot of water if you're not using a blended brush. And so it's not that you can't use all brushes with all mediums, but some brushes are made for a medium, like they're the best at it. And so like a firm filament synthetic is the best for heavy bodied acrylic paint. Whereas maybe a soft natural squirrel hair brush could be like amazing for oil. So it's just really about that. Now, I've taken a lot more white into my turquoise, and I'm going to brush out kind of an irregular bit of white here to imply water. I'm going to be using this sort of motion coming on the edge of the brush. You'll notice edge here, and it's going to go wiggy, 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 wiggy. All right, let's wiggy, wiggy, wiggy.
Okay.
Wiggy, wiggy, wiggy. Are you wigging with me? Wiggy, wiggy, wiggy. Look at this go. I love it. Thanks to your amazing generosity and your kindness, we are going to be adding another camera soon. It's going to take us a minute to work it out, but we're working on it. So you have another angle you can see this great video from. Though I do like this straight on shot. Notice how I am letting the white be heavier in some of the strokes, and that kind of makes like the little implication of maybe something is happening in the distant water. Something's going on. Right? And that's a nice effect to do. And there, what you see me there is adjusting, and I'm showing you the brush again, just in case you want to get that exact brush. I do love it. Step 5. 1381 Mike says, I love painting. I'm a beginner. It relaxes me and pulls me away from stress and sadness. Me too, man. It makes me feel better. What am I painting with here? This is a number 12 round Princeton blender. It's a dome blender. It has a really nice head on it. I am loading up with titanium white. The brush is slightly damp, and I'm going to be painting some distant, kind of out of focus clouds. You see me going there. I'm going to make little soft motions. I'm going to come along the edge, and then you'll see me curving up and creating far away cloud shapes. Try to avoid making like individual cotton balls. You just want to, this is me going, what? That's way too much. I was literally like, that is too much blue, is what I said to myself there. That is too much blue. And that'll happen. So I rinsed the brush out and I brought it back damp. And you'll notice that I kind of smoothed it out. And now I'm going back with more white and making more of a soft sky color. Never panic when stuff happens it's unexpected in your painting, because acrylic paintings are always fixable, always changeable. So I'm just reinforcing a slightly darker blue color for the sky than I initially painted the canvas. And I'm going to make sure that there's a nice little bit of cloudy bits. While this is still wet, I'm going to come back in with some white, and I will let the shape of the brush help bring my clouds, and I'll like float it up. So these could be like soft, distant things. You know how sometimes there's a cloud bank on a distant ocean, and it's, you know, it's there, but it's like a diffused cloud bank. I love diffused cloud banks because they don't ask you to do a lot. They're making little kind of half circle motions. I'm going little half circle, half circle, half circle, half circle. And the value of the clouds is very close to the value of the sky. This is a very forgiving type of cloud to do. And this brush is a very helpful type of brush to do it with. If you feel that you need more interesting shapes in your clouds, you can go back with sky color very easily. And as you notice, change the way your clouds are formed. Didn't get to finish my building in my art teacher's class that is a perspective. So yeah, I would definitely say if somebody can share the perspective big art quest with Lindsay, and she can watch that, and that can help her do 1 point and 2 point perspective. Step 6 is very, very 1 point. It's a very direct perspective. All right. My instinct told me to use wet kitchen paper towel and spray with water on top of cooking sheet to be my stay wet palette. That could work. That could work. I'm going to put in a faraway mountain This is very distant. I'm using white and black to create a soft gray, and we're going to just paint this in kind of loosely and get a value in. I will be darkening it up. I'm using a number 4 round. I'm mixing the paint on the toe of my brush. The brush is damp, but not sopping wet, so it's enough to improve the flow of the paint, but not enough to make it like drip everywhere. You can see I'm loading at the tip, and I pull out when I'm loading. And I'm doing a similar thing when I'm painting. I'm painting with a rough texture so that it's not even, because if it's even, then it means it has no surfaces. It's not bumpy, it's not craggy, it's just nothing. And you want it to be something, so sometimes painting it rough is a helpful way of doing that. Kathy Wood, everything can be fixed. Are you sure? Yes, I'm totally sure. I have tested this theory a lot. So I'm taking a little bit of blue and black, and I'm going to paint in a very dark value to the window. And I do like a little blue in my black, you know, coming forward. There's just a little bit of, you can see them going in there. And it's just the thing when you add a little phthalo blue to your Mars black, it cools it and it deepens it, and it can help it recess into the canvas, like visually appear further away. So it's a nice way of doing it. The round brush lets me not only paint in the window easily, but also very easily go around the curves and the edges. Ismail Majid says, hello, Sherpas and Sherpettes, Sherpazoids and Sherpanistas. This is really our art family. So I add a little white to the mix, and I start to streak my window. So I'm going to get white and blue, and I'm going to do a vertical streak, mostly focused at the top, and this is to imply a little reflection or reflection back on the pane of glass that's there. That's all that takes to do, and it works on car trucks and other windows and other reflective surfaces that are outside. Diane Canup says, Sherpa, I talked you up at the dentist's office today. You may get 2 more followers and told them to mention me. Wait, John, pause for 2 seconds because I'm having a visual moment. Okay, right? Just like with a little thing there. I had to go there with you, Diane. I just did. That's too awesome. Thank you so much. That is another great way that you can help my channels. You can subscribe. Boom. If you haven't done it, hit the bell because you want to learn art for free, right? And I want to teach you art for free. We should be besties. And then the other thing you do is tell your friends, other dentist, and anyone else who's willing to listen, because you can get the word out that there's free art education no matter where you live in the world, no matter who you are. I want to be your art teacher. Okay, we can keep going on. Like, keep teaching him a streak window. I just had to do that. It's like went into my place. Tammy Purdy says, hey, John, where's the best place to ask Sherpa questions? I know she's very busy when she's live. Tammy. So you can always write in to support at TheArtSherpa.com. I'm putting down my number 4 round so you know what I'm painting with. You can also sometimes ask those questions in the Art Sherpa official group on Facebook. And you can answer them here because I might already have a video about it. Now, everything is dry, bone dry, and cooled down. My T-square is out, and I'm literally using the width of the ruler to decide the width of my fence because it was easy. And I'm going to also use it to make straight pole lines. I'm going to start in the center and then kind of try to evenly divide that segment. I'm telling you the thinking behind this. So if you decide to resize or to use this technique again later and you're like, wait, I have a bigger fence, you know, you can incrementally measure it out or you can eyeball it in. Both seem to work pretty good. Tammy Purdy's like, I guess Sherpa does. Sherpa does. I don't know. I don't know what I do, but I do. I don't know what I do, but I do.
You do it well.
I do something well. Tell you what, I painted tomorrow's painting pretty darn well. Mm-hmm. You're going to be with me for a minute, but I threw down.
You painted the canvas off that. I
threw down. I was like, it's on like Donkey Kong. I threw down today too. Look, and also painting my nails. These are my COVID nails, but you know, I made an effort. Darcy Colley says, I talk about you and John to everyone, even strangers. I appreciate that so much. All right. And then Ismail Majid says, I haven't painted in a while, but I used to be good and I followed your tutorials. However, it's been more than a year since I've last painted. How do I get back into the groove? Pause.
Okay.
To anyone who has, because I'll tell you what, not everyone paints when stuff is stressful. Sometimes you have to feel okay to paint. I hear from people all the time that for whatever reason, the current situation in the world, something that happened in their life, things got busy. They got out of the groove of painting. How did they start painting again? My best advice, right? Now, I have a whole video about creativity with a bunch of my art friends, and we do talk about this, but after being on YouTube for a while, I have new advice, and you're going to hear it from me. Get into an art community. We have an art community here, a bunch of friends, people who talk to you about your art, who are supportive. If there is an art group in your area, get into that. Find other people who get it, because their energy will be infectious and it will get into you and it'll get you back into it, because sometimes it's really hard. It's like playing the double jump ropes. That's double dutch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily really great at it, but you know what I mean? Like there's a rhythm to hop in. Sometimes you need your friends to help you hop in. Okay, sorry.
No.
Elizabeth Turning says, I believe technically that's a rail instead of a fence. Sure, why not? It could be. So I'm making the same color as my background wall, which was a little bit of my phthalo blue, a little bit of my quinacridone magenta and white. And I'm going to paint as level as my hand will make it, a railing, the top railing. I'm going to go across. I'm using the number 4 round because with a mid-pressure stroke, so sometimes you're just on the toe of it, and then sometimes you press about this hard where there's like a mid-bend. It's about there in the mid-bend range. And I have a nice load in the belly. I love it. Noticed I used a lighter color kind of than the ground for the little railing. I added more white on that. So what that does is it creates a zone that is my railing, my columns, right? My fencing, which is not fencing. And then there's my ground. And so that's how we use value in painting to create a sense of spatial reality. Tomorrow we get real complicated with this, right? But right now we're starting to look at that. So even if you're at this one hoot range, this starting painting place range, come by tomorrow, Saturday at 1 p.m. Central and watch, because you're going to be like, oh, wait, that's how all these skills like turn into this crazy painting? Yes, how? All right. Oh, PJ says that PJ Low Piccolo says, I just got my number 4 round in the mail and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for loving it.
It's a good brush.
A good brush. I'm making a darker purple. I'm using my Quin and my phthalo, and I'm coming on the inside. Now, what's great about Quin and phthalo is because there's a little bit of a yellow in the phthalo blue, there's actually a hidden primary, so it grays it a bit. So it's not a saturated high to the eye purple. It's kind of like knocked back a little bit and gives you that Mediterranean cool feel that we see on all that white stucco. It's kind of a nice thing, and I really like it. Darcy Cully gives good advice for those who are feeling like they've got some, I don't know, creative block. She says doodles can help get you drawing again. I highly recommend that. I do. Doodles can help get you drawing again too, and just get you back on the creative thing, and they have a low pressure. I'm putting the crossbars in the window, and I'm also putting a little shadow of that quinacridone, phthalo blue, and a little bit of titanium white on my railings, on the left-hand side of the railing and on the underneath part. And then, I don't know, we're saying hello to Baton Rouge. So, hi, Baton Rouge. Whoever's in the live right now, why don't you tell us where you're watching from? Even if you're lurking, like if you've never commented before, but you watch every show, tell us where you're from. Let's see where our family is tonight.
Yeah.
How we are, because I think we're all over. I'm adding a dark purple, again, using those 2 colors. A kind of like architectural decorative element. It might actually have a reason in architecture, but I just noticed it and thought it was pretty, so I put it there. So I wasn't being architectural. I just thought it looked very traditional and what you might expect in that type of column, so I added it and I liked it. Oh, look at everyone. Kerrville, Tennessee. Linda's upstairs. Toronto, Tasmania, Australia, Colorado, Ann Arbor, Freehold. Wow, you're gonna have to read some of these out, man. I gotta watch this. You read out some of the places.
Wow, they're coming in fast now.
They
Scotland. Whoa, man, that jumped up the chat.
Well,
Tucson,
even
Pakistan,
if you're shy,
Texas, Olympia,
I am
Lake Eisnor,
straighten my
Alberta,
clouds up there with my ruler
Prescott.
while John is shouting out.
Man, there's so many places.
I mean, and if you're here, oh my gosh, I just saw Brazil and Armstrong and just outside Kansas City, Missouri. We have family there. Oh my goodness. Look at Temecula, California. I have been to Temecula. I know where you are. I like it when New Zealand, the home of that jumping jack ant.
Mm-hmm.
I watch nature shows. Also, the craziest parrot in the entire world, the Kia.
And their own continent.
What?
Zealandia.
Oh, that's right. From Zealandia, which is just awesome because that's just fantastic. Riverside, California, Phoenix, Arizona, Virginia, Santa Barbara. I love it. I'm using my T-square again, and I picked up my number 16 bright here, Raphael Precision. I said texture, but it's actually Precision. I'm making a very dark color using my phthalo blue and quinacridone, and I'm going to use my ruler to help me get a straight line. Now, if you do use your rulers to paint like I am here, don't forget to take a wet wipe or a damp towel and give them a wipe off immediately afterwards, or all your numbers will disappear. I've lost a lot of rulers to this effect, and I want to spare you that pain. So I tell you this now. Right now. That's what I'm doing right here. I'm wiping it off because I don't want to lose my ruler. I'm making that nice dark shadow color, come back with some white, and I'm blending it out a little bit. So just kind of blending it in, but I needed that kind of ombre. San Jose, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Oh my goodness. Kias are cheeky. All right. You guys get I'm painting this in here. Kias are the craziest, most awesome birds. I'm so about the Kia. I watched a whole special last night on Netflix.
Oh, right. That I heard of this.
He had to listen to me an hour just recap the documentary. That's a special hell. So I'm coming along and I'm adding more white. I'm pulling out some white. Sometimes you'll see me pull out white. And notice that I am changing sometimes the directionality of my brush stroke where I'm kind of interweaving them. That also helps create that stucco texture. And even if this is your first day painting, it's something you can do. I'm doing some loose, expressive brushy. And I'm coming in for the right-hand side with a little bit of a lighter color. My brush still has a bit of paint in it, so it's not bright white, but it's brighter than the bluish white I've already got. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Give Karen Thompson a shout out. I guess I just did. Now notice that I added a little bit of the pink, just the magenta and some white. Whenever I've been blessed enough to get to travel, John's been blessed enough to get to travel. And one of the things that you'll notice anywhere that you are in these bright, beautiful areas with the white stucco like Santorini is that the stucco is never just white. It catches reflections of so many things. And when you look at the white on the wall, it is its own kind of rainbow. It's really quite special. So that's something that you get to do as a painter. I'm adding some more of this pink, just a little bit toned with blue on the far wall with the window because that's a little bit darker. And so you can see I'm just pulling that there. And you can see how that pink gives that effective light, doesn't it? Come down on the edge to create a nice sharp line and brush a little more pink under the window. Shirley Major says she smells bacon. I don't know what that means, but I like bacon.
Somebody must be cooking.
And Sandy Irvin says, makes me want to be in the Caribbean. I think we got to check the Caribbean. I don't know. Can we go to the Caribbean? I'm using some white and yellow to create a bit of a bright reflection over here on this side, like some reflected sunlight hit over here. It's going to give a great effect when we put in the vines. You're going to love it. And it's nice to do those things. You can see how we interweave, and it's just dry brushing. Whenever I'm dry brushing, my brush is not sopping wet. It's just a little bit dry. So just a little less water, and it gives you a lot of fun. I'm going to add a bright little pop of yellow to sort of unify the painting. And you can see I marked that through. And then you saw how I flipped the brush over, kind of did it on a little bit of a more sheer to my hand, and then kind of dry brushed a little pop of white. Very important. Luna Rose says she loves Virginia. Any suggestions for one of your absolute first time painting tutorials? Yes. Anything in my Q-tip playlist. Those are cotton buds that clean your ears. They're super fun. You can't get intimidated by it. They're actually really pretty paintings, but they're a lot of fun to do, and they'll remind you that, oh yeah, I like painting. And honestly, oh wait, pause here. And honestly, what I would say is do the baby's breath one that just says breathe, because there's me making a hysterical mistake, and it helps us to remember not to take stuff so seriously. This little fun thing is a reminder that there's a Teespring store. I did want to say, can we see the code? Oh, John's zooming in. So that code is still good. If you use that code, TAS15, I'll give you 15% off your order at my store.
No code.
Some people were saying, hey, I only see masks. So if you see a mask, click it, because there's a whole collection. Like if you click the flower mask, even more than this opens up all the different things. And guess what? You can choose the color of everything. You can match it to your house. Sometimes I have way more than I show. I have iPhone, Samsung. It's like everything. The Teespring definitely does support us, but it also supports you with fun gear. So use the code. No matter when you're watching this video, as long as Teespring lets me use that code, I'm honoring it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So go see what's there, because it's crazy. Just remember to click whatever item you like. I kind of like that design, but I don't necessarily want those leggings. Click them, because there's probably a whole collection there. Step 9 is going to be fine. Are we ready? I think so. So look at us. Like we've got kind of a building happening here. I am taking my little number 4 round. I am getting a little white on here, a touch of pink. You can see me like a little pink, a little bit of pink. And I'm going to come in and highlight those cross beams, right? Because I want to imply that they've caught a little bit of light. Notice that by making the horizontal cross beam continual, it makes it look like the vertical one is kind of like a little behind it. It lets you know where the seam is in the wood. Weird fun effect that you can do. Mary Youngblood wants the leggings. I like the leggings. I want them to get a little more plus size, but you know, I think they go like 2X or 3X, but I want them to go like, woo. Carly Snyder says, I've done the bead painting and it was quick, easy, and beautiful. Ashley Harvey, I will keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I'm adding a highlight to the top of the railing. See how that suddenly just put some sunlight on the railing? And now I'm going to come put it on the right-hand side. I so appreciate that, Ashley. And Raven Earth Flame. First of all, Raven, love it. Raven Earth Flame. That's fantastic. I really appreciate how you named yourself. I'm adding a little sunlight underneath the railing as well. Kelly, girl, you threw me, but you, and I'm making an assumption there too. Any tips for painting when it's difficult to sit and stand for longer? Bad back. First of all, okay, pause, because I gotta get on my soapbox. Okay. Painting is a physical thing. It does physically make demands on your body. Mm-hmm. And if you have a bad back or you have a bad shoulder, first of all, guess what? I use gear like that people who do fitness. So if you have a bad back, there are back supports and you should be wearing it when you're painting. If your shoulder is bothering you, you should be wearing a shoulder support. Also try to pay attention to like, maybe it's 20 minutes before you feel an injury and you can just do 20 minutes sitting and then break and then do a 20-minute sitting and break. Like listen to your body, right? This only works if you're respectful of your body so your body can support your painting goals. And if you're hunched over, if you don't have good body posture, even if every bit of your body is in good health, that can really impact you. So be really aware and treat it like sometimes I have to wear elbow supports if like I get inflammation in my joints. Sometimes I have to wear shoulder supports like those little shoulder tapes. There's all kinds of solutions Take them just like if you were like doing a little bit of a workout, except this is way more fun than working out. So do this. Okay. So that was I got on my box. Oh, Kellen. Close enough, Kellen. Kellen. All right. Karen Thompson, I told her to plus. I'm starting to do a fleur-de-lis plus Mountains Create. I use paste for my fleur-de-lis. All right, cool, Lindsay Herbert. Okay, let's keep going.
I thought it was good.
Oh, the Foxy is a mug in the Teespring store.
Sorry, I thought it was playing.
I'm adding highlights now. I'm taking a little bit of my pink, my white, some of my blue, and I'm coming over the top. And I'm making my stucco brighter, especially in the wall facing us, because we don't really know what's behind us, do we? For all we know, that's an open courtyard leading up to this moment. So this could have light from several sources, and that's what makes these types of scenes really fun. All right, highlighting again the right-hand side of the pillar, and even the right-hand side of the decorative kind of little colonnade. And then I'm like, ooh, some more of that. Let's add some more yellow and white, because that's going to be really fun right there. I'm going to put a bunch of plants. And I did that because I knew that there would be some reflection from the leaves and things onto this beautiful white. So I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for that. I'm brushing around. I'm dry brushing. That means I haven't put a lot of water on my brush. I've just kind of gotten paint and I haven't really dampened the brush. And you can see how it's loaded. I'm going to just dry brush the stucco floor. That creates a highlight that kind of says, oh, there's some sunlight hitting there and brightening this area, brightening this space. Sheila Harvey says it's a lovely painting. And Brett F is making a recommendation. The Q-tip Weeping Willow was one of the first I did, and it's hanging in the living room. Mary Youngbread says, I have arthritis. I have to break every so often. I also had to stop in the middle of acrylic April because daily painting was too much. Deborah Hape says, do you ever use texture medium? Yes, I do. Moderators, would you drop on Deborah the Blue Door and its sister videos where we put the flowers on there? Because they do an excellent demonstration of Liquitex texture paste. I'm coming along, adding some highlights next to the window. Now we're starting to create that sense of one wall is one way and the other wall is another way. Pretty fun and easy to do. Brushing out some more highlights on the ground. Sammy says, excited for the next D&D painting. Please do more. Maybe a Hailing Fire wizard named Cora Tealeaf. Could that be your character? Step 10. I'm going to do a fun, simple one for the D&D painting. I haven't decided if D&D painting is going to kick off the Halloween season or if I'm going to hit it earlier. But, man, I just keep putting paintings on the schedule. Oh, wait, pause for a second. So see my brush here. I'm back into the number 16 bright. And I'm going to be making a very bright green. Don't always start out lightening your greens with white, especially Theriolo, because it goes a kind of like really cool mint. But if you're trying for these bright green leaves, these doughy leaves, you're going to need to lighten with yellow first. So take the smallest amount of green over to your yellow till you get it the green you want. And then if you want to lighten it after that, then add white. Okay, go. Oh, Rain recommends the bonsai tree with moon. I love the bonsai tree with moon. Now, I am tapping, so I load the brush, but I'm weirdly painting with just the corner. I'm just tapping the corner up and down like this. You see this right here? I'm just tapping the corner up and down. Tap, 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 tap. Sometimes I add a little kind of curve to it. Just tapping that. And I am going to make irregular little leaf shapes going out. The mental state you want for this is inspired by bougainvillea. I grew up with bougainvillea. And they have these like little tendrils that they put out that almost like defy gravity out into space as they cling to your wall and rip off your roof. But they're really pretty and also super poisonous, so never eat them or burn them. Leslie Jones, what's on your Christmas list? For sure, a white squirrel. From one of our community members' photographer husbands. I've been eyeing it since next year. I'm going to confirm that I can get it. I got a little gingerbread man taking a soak in a cup. I've got some stuff going on for Christmas and also some tip videos. Earth Flame says she got a Lazy Susan when she was starting Zentangles, but I forgot to turn it. I'm afraid the same thing would happen here. Got to turn your Lazy Susan. So see, just taking that bright green, and making those irregular shapes. If you haven't ever done this before, feel free to pause the video and really observe them and look at them, because your brain wants to make order, and in this case, you have to train it to make disorder. I know you may have socks all over your floor, but it's still true. You still have to train it to make disorder. I am adding more of these little bits of leaves coming out, hanging everywhere. I'd like to think of leaves as like nature's funfetti, the way they turn in the light and they make different shapes. I also like to use these types of plants to create space in a painting because it says that these objects are three-dimensional when we have them peeking through the windows in this way. And again, you see me just going into my yellow to lighten that green, not my white. Carly says, who would love Cinnamon and Sean? They're best pair around. I don't know. We have people we annoy. We certainly do. But mostly, for the most part, everybody's about free painting. And we have more than enough people to support us to be completely okay. So we don't really worry about it. I don't got to be everybody's cup of tea. I just got to be your cup of tea. So I'm adding yellow and white, again, to create these in the sun. You know how sometimes where sun reflects through the leaf? That's what we're trying to do. I'm going to run this very bright color to the edge of this plant. Again, making the little tap, 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 tap. It's a great way to make leaves. If this makes you crazy, just switch to your round. Just because I'm a wild woman and I got to use my bright in a crazy, crazy way doesn't mean you have to. You can do it your own way. You can go your own way. I won't sing, don't worry. Am I going to do more animal and fantasy paintings in one hoot? Yes. That's a definitive yes. Yes. Every Friday night, one hoot. The butterflies might have eked for next weekend to two hoot. Not two hoot, but they're really like 1.5 hoot. So I'm adding a little more green and making a darker color, and I added my burnt sienna into it. Burnt sienna is a great way to take any green on your palette and give it more of that shaded green, that forest green, that depth of green that you're looking for in plants. I'm going to add little shadows in where I imagine that there are leaves that the light is being shaded from. Perhaps they're older, darker leaves. I want to create irregular shapes, right? Fight the order. Fight the order. You don't fight the power here. We fight the order. Fight the pattern. Fight the pattern.
Don't walk the pattern.
Lindsay noticed that use big bottles of modeling paste. Those can be hard. I find small bottles are easier, especially when creating lines. I have to agree. And then we have another friend. Fleetwood Mac is awesome, right? Who can't love the Fleetwood? Gotta love it. I've seen them in concert. It's real. Obviously, my age. Of course, I've seen them in concert. Like that's a revolutionary thing at my age. So I'm just continuing to get out my like burnt sienna. I'm just dabbing, adding those shaded leaves. Now in this far corner, this part of the building would be more in shade. So we'd have the older leaves, but we're also having those leaves that aren't catching as much sun. So you'll see me get heavier with that deep green, and that's about thinking about the light. Have you noticed that the dark side tends to be the left of things and the lighter side tends to be the right of things? So when you're doing your bushes, don't forget to do that thinking, the thinking you were doing in your architecture into your bushes. This is me doing some thinking right there. Whenever you see me pause, I'm doing some thinking. PJ Piccolo says, I love how you teach all levels with your hoots. I really do try to teach all levels if I can. Because I know that being a beginner is not a one and done journey. It's not one kind of painting. It's not one kind of lesson. It's a series of lessons that eventually releases you into the world to be a free and floating painter. I have taken my burnt sienna and my phthalo green. I am edging the corners. I am tapping the brush up and down. I am using the corner, and I'm avoiding making patterns. Now, I love adding cad yellow to that burnt sienna phthalo green mixture because it creates a lighter value, but somehow it marries into the deep green, creating that middle range of bush. Andrea Boyette, I love your teaching style so much. You're so goofy and you keep me laughing. We got to pause for Andrea to blow her some bubbles. Thank you for the support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really.
Much.
We'll have a bubble machine in the new setup soon. It'll probably be like, whoosh, and I'm going to be drawing too many bubbles. I don't know. We got to figure out how to do the bubbles without like raining all the bubbles on me because the current machine is like a bubble blizzard. I'm adding a little bit of my leaves forward to under the window. So it's kind of like there's a bush here, but then there's another maybe potted plant or something up front. And they're sort of married in their visual line, but they're actually in separate spaces. So I so appreciate that so much. Carly Snyder says, I'm very glad that the flowers aren't very detailed. I love flowers, but they don't always come out right. Flowers can be really hard for new students. And the reason is that you guys love flowers, and so you look at them and your brain has a lot of visual information, and so when you're painting, your brain gets critical and it's like, that's not the flower I remember this other flower. And it's not embracing your beautiful, wonderful painterly flower. It's asking you to, I don't know, recreate its memory and be faithful to that. So it's definitely the fight of new painters. Loose flowers can help us get past that. And then plus it's like the frosting in the painting, right? You can see that I am sometimes going back into my green and brown mixture, and I'm trying to add shadows, shade into the depth of the bush, right? Keeping in mind what we already kind of had going on with our shading and the areas that are might be blocked in light. Haley says, does completing a painting over a couple of days affect the outcome, such as not being able to mix the same color or painting over dry paint to fix any errors? This is a great question. May we pause?
We may.
Okay. We'd be out of this painting really early, but this is such a great question. I really want to answer it. And then there's one about Sandy that I just really want to answer. I want to answer these two questions.
Answer them.
Okay. With acrylic painting, if you're doing wet into wet techniques, you might have to apply an area of paint to do wet into wet. The reason I teach the way I do is so that you can always get back to a color. I had a professor that couldn't do this. She would mix a color and then she'd have to put it in a baby jar and like store it like some secret goodie that was forever because she couldn't get back to the color. So I don't just like put out the colors I need from tubes of paint straight from the paint tube, because if you guys understand how the colors work, it doesn't matter when you paint it. You can take days. Right now, my patrons and I are in a painting that we're on, 8 hours on. We definitely didn't do it in one session. We've got many more sessions to go. So you've got to be able to go back and pick that. You may have to go back and mix the wet into wet. And the other one is, one of my biggest issues, says Sandy, is trying to make it perfect and control it too much. And that's when I mess up. Yes, that is a big issue for experienced painters and new painters, which is being inside of yourself, just like we have to accept who we are, our bodies, our imperfections, our perfections. We have to embrace ourselves. We have to embrace the artist that we are right now. When you're in a painting journey, you're not the artist that you were, and you're not the artist that you're gonna be. You are who you are right now. And your purpose, your moment, your zen in the painting is to be okay with the artist you are today. And know that the artist you were yesterday, who was maybe not as skilled, is awesome and amazing and brave and terrific, and they should be celebrated. And the artist you're going to be tomorrow, which is so much more skilled and capable than the artist you are today, doesn't make you any less of an artist today. So that's my art philosophy. John can hit the play button because I got all philosophical about it.
That's okay.
Oh, Heather K says, OMG, your mom talked about that instructor a week or so back. That instructor made my mom crazy. My mom took that class so that I could, like, you know how in college your class needs to have so many people sign up for the class to make? She literally took it so my class would make. And I won't out the teacher's name, but yeah, that teacher made my mom completely insane. But that teacher did teach us how to stretch canvas and do stretchers and use power tools and be about that. And so I value that lesson very, 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 very much. And also it was a cautionary tale about not being able to mix colors. Clearly the work is worthwhile. She had a master's, so it's not like you are guaranteed to get out of art school knowing how to mix color. You still have to work on your craft, even if you go to a great art school. It doesn't matter whether you're in school or not in school. Step 11, you still have to do. My cat yells, preach it, my job. All right, so here we are. This is the last leg of the painting. I think it was an 11-step painting, wasn't it, babe?
I think so. No, maybe one more between here and the end.
I don't know. I'm getting into the flowers. So I'm taking magenta and a lot of white. And this will be a light color because where I'm putting my where my lightest green leaves are, I'm going to use a lighter pink color because those petals would be more in light. Light might be shining through them, lightening them, impacting them. So you see me using my number 4 round. I'm loaded very heavily on the toe. This is a thick paint load, and I'm just tapping out these little flowers. I'm just like, just like the leaves, trying to avoid the order. So I'm just reading such wonderful comments. I'm so glad you appreciated that insight about accepting the artist we are now. It's super important work, and it's the work of our life, because you always have to go back to that well and revisit it and recenter it. Sometimes I'm going to make my pink darker, and you should make your pink darker too. Think about that some of these petals, some of these flowers won't be getting all the sunlight. They're going to be kind of maybe shaded by another flower. They're going to be maybe darker because they're older. Maybe this particular plant will have different amounts of color in the different petals that it has. So remember to keep it there. Where I'm in the dark green, I'm probably going to do more of my dark colors. Just tapping it out. I really love that. And then, where it's going to be on the edge, I'm going to go, remember to make some of these dots a little bit smaller. Like you want some of them to be big, but you want some of them to be smaller, because flowers get in perspective just like everything else, don't they? Mm-hmm. Darcy says, I've learned more from you and YouTube artists than when I was in art school. Thank you so much. YouTube audiences are much harder on us than professors ever have to deal with. The professor that we talked about earlier, for all of our feelings about that, nobody thought to question it. We were all super afraid. Whereas online, people are like, you suck, you're so wrong. And you have to really stand and deliver. You have to really think about what you're saying to people, because people will call you on your stuff. I'm darkening my pink. And again, as I'm darkening it, I'm going to come into those dark greens. I know that's where my shadows are. You'll see me grab some Cad Red. The quinacridone Cad Red Alliance is my favorite alliance. I love it so much. Do you love it? I love it. I'm tapping it up and down. I'm tapping. I love it. Getting in it. Tap. I hope I can keep this energy tomorrow, because it is a class. Like, I brought it. Like, I got serious about it. I don't know what was going on with me. I was like, this is all the Mediterranean. I'm going to paint all of Lake Como, no matter what. So I'm glad I had a light night. I am kind of filling that up because I know I want to get into my yellow and kind of create a bit of a different planting. Maybe this is like in the line of the bougainvillea that we have, but another type of planting. Could be in a pot in front of the pillar, but it has a slightly different flower. And that warmth makes a little visual interest. It keeps it from being too unified, too homogenized, too the same. Oh, Suzanne says now professors have to teach online. Yeah, they're going to love it. Alyssa Otter's like, I found an otter emoji. I know how Alyssa feels. I love when I find an emoji like that I love. I'm back into my pink and white, and I just want to make sure that I'm adding little flowers that reflect the different bougainvillea things that I have around as I come out into my lighter greens. You know what I'm going to do. You can predict it. More white. But you got to vary up that pink. Don't be like a one pink pony. You got to change your pink. Say it with me. I'm not a one pink pony. I can do all the pink. I love it. Right now, I know somebody said it with me, and you're my buddy, aren't you? You are my buddy. And Nathan Evans says, this sucks really bad. It sucks. Thank you, Nathan. Your opinion is appreciated. Your views are appreciated. And I really appreciate you helping me in my metric. Hit something here. Interact with the page more. We love it. Art Thomas says, which red is the best primary red? Well, some people really like a naphthol red. Some people really like a pyrrole red. Honestly, I like the quins. However, if you're doing the new color mixing theory, magenta is how they tend to go, because they do the CMYK now. So they do magenta, a mid-range like a Hansa, and cyan. Interestingly enough, for primary sets. So I've gotten into my yellow a lot more, and I'm adding highlights with my white. And Angie Bass is like, luminous opera. This would be a great place to use luminous opera. Just fantastic. I hope everyone's coming tomorrow. I think it's going to be so much fun. I love it. Oh, the troll's down. I'm so sorry. I'm sure they'll hit the thumb on the way out.
Yeah.
Sandy Irvin says, thank you. Good advice. I learned quite a bit from this video. I'm so glad because that's the goal. The goal is to help you learn. Now, notice that I'm dropping petals on the ground. This is the kind of thinking we want to get into as an artist, right? So if you have plants and they're up in the air, what do plants do? Well, they're messy bits, aren't they? They're so messy. They're so messy. They drop their leaves and petals everywhere. So make sure you make a mess on your painting because you have to avoid the order. Isn't this great? So like when people come in your house and it's not cleaned up, you're like, I'm working on my artistic journey of avoiding the order.
We have about 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
8 of them.
8 minutes?
8 minutes.
All right. Sherpaville is an otter safe zone. It's true. We accept otters of every kind. All the otters are welcome. So I'm adding a bit of my white again to my pink, varying up the pinks. This particular plant will be just a little bit darker in its value. Same hues, but just a little bit darker because it's a little more in the shade. All right. So again, we're just thinking about that process in our artist place, trying to be like, oh, what would it be over here? And it's okay in your painting to take a minute and quietly and introspectively visualize inside yourself and be like, what would it be? You'll find that the goal is to start to listen to your own artist brain and your own creative instincts because they're in there. Mm-hmm. They may not have had crayons for a minute, but they're in there. So we're training them. I went and got a deeper value pink, moving back into the dark greens. It's such a lovely combo, the pink into those dark greens.
I like Brenda's approach. Laundry is just floor art.
Oh, Sandy's so nice. All right, Barbara Robertson, how do you dispose of your paint water? So, this is important information. Here's the thing. You can, there is a free article on how to dispose of your acrylic paint water that won't interfere with your septic, that won't be a problem for the environment, and is very ecologically sound. If you pour down the sink, it can damage septic and it can be hard on your pipes because the acrylic solids can stick to things and build up. Not enough that I've ever seen it clog a pipe, but still something to think about. So what you want is something that does crash solids. Golden makes a pre-made kit. Golden Artist Colors makes a pre-made kit called Crash Solids. You can buy that, or you can go to the Make Paint blog. If you're with me right now, you 411 people, if you do one thing tonight besides paint, because I totally want you to paint, is go to the Make Paint blog by Golden Artist Colors and subscribe, and then look up how to dispose of paint water, acrylic paint water. They have set the industry standard. They give you a free instructional set of blogs about it so you can build it yourself if you want to go to the garden store. If you're not into that, they sell a very economical way of you doing that. They are really, really, really about protecting our groundwater resource.
You know what I can say? It's easier to have a crash solids bucket than it is to balance the pH and chlorine on your pool.
That's right. That is a very accurate statement. At least for us, it has been. Sabrina says, what's inside the building by the window? A shadow of a person? Sorry if this was answered. So this window is very dark, and we're leaving it dark because the lights are out, the person is out, they're doing something. If I want to imply somebody's in there, I would use a little cad yellow and cad red to create a glow in the window. So the streaking that you see there, and I guess there is kind of the shape of the curtain, is a reflection of light on the glass into a dark room. So that's what's going on. But it was a great question.
You could add more or less to that shadowy figure.
Now I'm back to my favorite mixture, which is my quinacridone and my cad red. Oh, I love that mixture. And I'm going to be making kind of matching yellow and orange flowers to what's over there on the right at the pillar. But these will be a little bit darker because they're closer to the window, so they're a little more in the shade. And so we get to be a little bit darker about them, and you get a more sense of what they are. I'm so sad we're coming to the end of the painting. Métis, when can someone use the color silver, mix it with white? Well, I find that silver is better over a dark color because the metallics tend to be very, very transparent. So if you really want to see the silver, you almost got to do it over a black or brown or something very deep. Blue is great. But if you mix it into it, the silver will then start to do color mixing thing. If you have a hidden primer, it can just gray out your color. It won't necessarily make it awesome and shiny. But I get the instinct, and I highly encourage it. So I'm getting some quinacridone and tapping into the deep green. So again, I'm darker pink now because I would have more shadows. Bianca says, Sherpa, for your owie, have you thought of drafting a table for your bigger, have you thought of trying a drafting table for your bigger canvases? I have. The Red Queen, she's a little bit big, but I literally thought about just sticking her in, like working on an eye or something. We're going to be okay for the 18th, I think, is when her next episode is. So fingers crossed, I'm going to be there for the patrons and rocking it. Oh, thank you. Shannon Martinez says, beautiful job. I love it. And Alexandra says, I'm going to Michael's tomorrow. So excited to pick up level 3 pinks. I do love the level 3. I do.
They have the strong pinks.
They do have the strong pinks. So, and you want a good pink.
You don't want
nice
the
to have
weak
a good
pinks.
Pink. Yeah, you don't want a weak sauce pink.
You want the strong pinks.
You want the strong pinks.
As they used to say in the 20s, you want a manly pink.
That's right. Get you a manly pink. You binary about your pinks.
Just because
I don't know, the world is crazy now. I just try to enjoy myself and accept everybody for who they are. That's all you can do. Accept yourself, accept everybody for who they are.
In the 20s, pink used to be a boy color.
It did. I know.
So that was really cool.
I tell my son that all the time because he's so upset that somebody told him he couldn't wear purple because it was gender appropriate, and he was just like, what? I know, that's crazy. So I'm tapping up a little vertical sprig of flowers, and that's just to give some variance in the structure. Sometimes you're trying to create some layering, and by putting the petals in front of the window, it helps set the window back a little bit. It was a really nice decision. I'm glad that I made it. Still just tapping up and down. Oh, PJ says we've made quarantine better. And Rain says, Cinnamon John Mods, thank you for your time, talents, and education. We rock. You guys rock.
And
you rock.
When we say level 3 paint, we mean professional paint.
Yeah. So paints are rated by tiers or levels. So level 1 is student, level 2 is mid-grade professional, level 3 is professional. These terms are ridiculous and only mean that in the level 1 there's less pigment and less stable polymers. In the mid-grade there's a little more pigment and more stable polymers. And in level 3 it's very stable archival polymers with tons of pigment. That's the difference. I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with you being professional or not. It's just how they labeled it. Suzanne Zaring says, Cinnamon, did you see the quilt I made from your koi painting? I love the inspiration. Didn't, and I need my mods to make sure I'm tagged into that because I need to see that. Mm-hmm. I need to see that. My mods are really great.
Support at TheArtSherpa.com.
Support at TheArtSherpa.com. You're right. Support at TheArtSherpa.com. Send it over. I need to know. I need to. I am signing my painting now. I'm using a little detail liner. This is a #1 monogram liner, which is now missing.
Ooh.
I don't know where it is. And I'm taking a little white and yellow. Remember, your signature is part of your painting. So all I'm saying about that is think about how the signature will impact the painting. Because if you did big red Sherpa right there, then it's the painting is about the big red Sherpa. And if that's your jam, that's completely cool. Just consider everything in your painting you should just consider. There's no right or wrong. There's just what's right for you. And so what's right for me is to not do a signature that just throws my whole painting off because that makes me mental. It does. I won't stop looking at it. And then I'm like, so my #4 round is there. Did I sign that with my number? No, I signed it with a monogram, didn't I?
I think so. Yeah.
So that's a #4 Art Sherpa round. I have a line of brushes. They are awesome. But just know that all the brushes and materials and things that you see here today, there are other great brushes. There are other great canvas. There's other great paints. So don't let those kinds of things stop you from your creative destiny. We're ready to, do you have the, you can paint this screen?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we didn't do, you can paint the screen for this one.
I did.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. I did, but this is good. We'll stop here.
I have this one.
You do. The black screen. I made one. Suzanne says she put on the Facebook page. So thank you so much today for coming by and painting. Tomorrow is going to be really terrific. You guys are going to love it. You can check the thumbnail out. It's going to be 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe to the page. Give me a sub, thumbs up, a comment, share with your friends. Thank you so much for the support. We are going to be here all through quarantine and then past quarantine because art is a very important part of our lives. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at Anisa really soon. Bye-bye.